All right. Well, that was
Here we are.
exciting. Yes. So welcome, everybody. I am pumped up because this is our very first podcast here. Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan Schefke, host of the Event Squadcast. This is a podcast for event professionals with a desire to keep up with the latest industry trends, best practices, and headlines in the event industry.
That's right. And I'm Brad, co-host of the Event Squadcast, and want you to know we are excited to introduce our first guest today. His name's Sergiu Biris, and he's been an entrepreneur since the age of 17. Sergio is passionate about making amazing products, leading teams, and building successful online platforms that are used by millions of people. So while most of us are keeping up on the latest episode of The Mandalorian, Sergio is building and launching successful startups. Sergio, welcome, man. How are you?
Hey guys, I'm really well. How are you guys?
We're
Awesome to
doing
be
good.
on your show.
Doing amazing. Yeah, thanks for joining. Sergio, just to kind of get it kicked off, again, super excited to have you, especially as our first guest. I almost feel like you should be interviewing us because I understand you're a very popular podcast host yourself in your country. So that's amazing. But, look, when we learn more about you, I looked at your LinkedIn profile. You and I spoke. I mean, you are an entrepreneur, you're an investor, you're an advisor. On your LinkedIn profile there, it said, see all 15 experiences. I had to expand it to see everything you've been doing. Mind blowing. But the one thing that I think is incredible for our listeners to hear more about is you actually created a company called LiveRail and you sold it to Facebook for 500 million bucks. Not many people can do that. So tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, thanks for the intro, Ryan. Very good to be here. So it was a company I co-founded back in 2007 together with some friends. I was involved on the product side for the company. It was an advertising technology company that essentially started off as just putting ads over videos, and this was at a time when this technology was practically non-existent. Not even YouTube had video advertising. So that's how we started, and we started here in Europe, and the company essentially over time pivoted towards becoming one of the top real-time bidding platforms for video advertising. And by the time it took like 7 years until it reached such a high point, and by that time it was one of the top platforms worldwide. And yes, Facebook and others were really interested in the company, and ultimately the Facebook acquired it.
So they acquired it for 500 million, but then I read on and I found another article that Facebook then basically closed that business, 2 years later, right? So how many companies have $500 million in their pocket and then just shut down the operations, What happened there? I'm curious. Did they do their own thing?
Yeah, I think it was a lot of misalignment at one point of objectives, and the person that was the locomotive in the acquisition after the company was acquired left Facebook afterwards. And then you know how it happens, things get sidetracked, objectives changed, but a lot of the code that was in LiveRail is still today in Facebook, and it was integrated in a pretty important portion. But at the end, the company just decided that they wanted to do something else. And the team that was because the team has joined, back at the time, joined Facebook. The team, a lot of the people remained in the company.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on that. Some of my code that I wrote is in our software, but I don't tell anybody that.
But you didn't get $500 million for it, right?
And I did not. Yeah, that's correct.
You would only get 200 million because, the government takes the other 55.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So good. You were in video advertising. You've done things in audio, music. And Brad, I think you have some questions here about what he's up to now.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you founded this other little company called EventMix.live, and tell us how you got started with that, and what got you into the events industry.
So, as Ryan mentioned before, I was in the music streaming space before this company, and I'm a huge fan of media entertainment, and I've built a lot of products around that. And essentially, my next startup after the music streaming one wanted to be a startup for hybrid events focused around music festivals and DJs. This was back in 2018-19. We launched this product. It was a really cool product, but very quickly, even if we live streamed some festivals, unfortunately, when the pandemic came, the festival industry pretty much came to a stall, and then we had to decide what we do next. And I decided to pivot the business towards virtual and hybrid events for any type of industry. So that's how I came to building EventMix. And even though I knew that there were a few players in the market back then already, we decided to go on a more customizable type of product. So instead of building like a virtual venue, which is similar to Hopin, we decided to just build a software that's more for organizers that want something very custom. They want to live stream the event from their own URL. They want to brand their pages and so on and so forth. So we focused on that direction, and the product has grown pretty well since we were in beta about a year ago, and we're doing quite well.
Well, that's great. When you and I spoke, we wanted to concentrate more on hybrid events, right?
Yeah.
And I think for our listeners, they care about that topic. So I'd like to delve a little bit deeper into that, Sergio. And I think I'd like to begin here by talking about why pure virtual maybe might not be working. And obviously, we've got people clamoring to get back to live events, but talk a little bit about the challenges or the problems today with virtual platforms and virtual events.
So I think there's definitely there's been a lot of innovation with virtual events, but when innovation comes into a market, ultimately there's going to be a lot of players coming into that market, and I think the virtual events market has become pretty crowded, I would say. That's one issue, because it's very hard to differentiate between products. It's pretty much every other agency maybe made their own solution, so there's been a lot of development in this space. But I think that one of the problems with virtual event platforms is that a lot of them are not really well built. So they're pretty clunky. They're very hard to use. You need an, a technology degree to really put an event in place. We worked on a really, really simple solution. So EventMix, it's like anyone can use it. Even you don't even need to be a very technical person, and you can have an event website in like a few minutes already running. but at the same time, looking from the other perspective, like you mentioned, hybrid events, because I think coming out of the pandemic will pose a real challenge for virtual event platforms. If you've built your platform only with virtual in mind, you're going to have an issue, because I think a lot of the a lot of events will really want to come back to in person. But I think for the better, the industry is already, I think it's already changed towards adopting hybrid, because um back in 2018, 19, I was telling you that it was hard to explain to people, they would say, nobody's going to watch an event. They'll all come on offline. They'll come in person. Nobody's going to watch it online. And 1 year later, everybody's online. And
Yeah.
now I think what the pandemic did was accelerate this, and I think it's going to stay. uh, and I think that hybrid events will be the future from this standpoint.
Yeah, I think hybrid and the opportunities that we've created by creating these digital and virtual platforms, it allows organizers to maximize participation, maximize attendance. You might have a team of 10 people that might typically go to an event as an attendee. And now maybe it's your two most important people, they go to the live version, and the other eight, maybe they're not traveling and they're participating remotely. Or maybe, in the past, the two people went and the eight never went, but now they could go, they could be
Yeah.
involved, right? Um, Maybe going like a layer deeper into my question, who do you, and I'm looking at kind of three categories, right? An organizer, an exhibitor, and an attendee. In the virtual event space, who do you think has the biggest challenge and why? Is it the organizer, the attendee, or the exhibitor?
That's a good question. I think, well, everybody everybody has their own challenges. Like, if you're an organizer, you need to use a very simple solution that's cost effective, and really get your team around it. For the attendee, it also needs to be really simple to use, because if the flow is complicated and it's really hard to use, you're not going to be able to enjoy the event. And for the exhibition part, I think that also poses a challenge, because it's a lot of the products are not really engaging
Hmm.
for exhibitors. I think a lot of the expo booths that are created are not actually visited by maybe
Yeah.
anyone from the event.
Mhm.
So the challenge there is, how do you increase the engagement between the participants, the exhibitors? How do you make it as an event organizer, so that you you achieve the goals of the exhibitors, because they're paying you to be there. So I think that because the speed of the adoption of this new model has been, um, so it's been so fast. We switched from in person to virtual, just like that, because we had to. I think that's kind of the biggest challenge, because maybe only now organizers are getting their head around what they need to do in order to have a successful event, and now they're going to move to hybrid, and that's going to pose even more challenges, because now you have the question: how do we engage the people in person with the people online? How do we make the experience seamless between these two
Hmm.
platforms? So yeah, i
Mhm.
think i think there's a lot of challenges, and coming back to the multitude of platforms out there, I think the ones that will solve these issues best for the organizers, I think those will win the market.
Yeah, I can, say firsthand, as an exhibitor, when we were just exhibiting in a virtual environment, we really didn't get any leads. That was our biggest challenge, was getting leads. As I think through the hybrid world, if we're there live exhibiting in a 10 by 20-foot booth, and then we're supposed to have a virtual presence, how are we going to man, if you will, how are we going to put resources on both of those sides and manage that effectively? But hey, going back, Sergio, to your point about making sure that attendees can engage with exhibitors, what is the solution to doing that, in your opinion?
I think, I think that actually you guys have one solution for that, right? You have a lot of.
We're not paying you to say that.
So I think you guys are on the right track. Creating the tools and the games and the all that around helping exhibitors engaging participants. I think that's clearly one important way to do it, because you need something to attract attention. You need something to make participants. Think about what happens in a virtual event. It's like me home, watching the computer screen, and if it's just like your videos and someone talking about something, that's not gonna be interesting. So
Yeah.
Right.
yeah, so because it's not actually like a live event, and I think we need to embrace that, and we need to create experiences around this type of use case. And yes, that's also what we're trying to do. We're trying to create many types of experiences around, either around different use cases that you can't otherwise do on, Zoom or whatever other platforms, or around, like you said, exhibitions and
Yeah.
sponsor booths and so on.
Yeah, so we've, as you said, it's not a cold promo, but we have worked hard to bridge the gap between the virtual and the live event and create touchless options, create interactive options, photo booths, and games that people can engage in together and compete in no matter where they are in the space. You mentioned uh, event organizers and people just having difficulty launching virtual experiences, like they have to have a special degree to do that. So just with that consideration in mind, where do you feel the future of hybrid is? What does the future of hybrid look like?
I think so, and we're really putting a lot of effort into this as we speak. So I think that ease of use is really important. Making it easy for the organizer to not have to think about all of the things that they need to do in order to have a seamless experience. So, for example, we recently introduced the possibility to generate tickets with QR codes for in-person participants, and that works really well. They can all even print their badges when they attend the event, and the organizer only has to check a box, and that's gonna happen, and works really well. So I think if you want to bridge in person with virtual, the only way to do it is to do it from a single place, which gives the event organizer peace of mind, and you give them all the features that they need, and it has to work really well. Otherwise, the organizers will need to use, a tool for tickets, a tool for virtual, a tool for creating the website for the in-person, and then a tool for creating the website for virtual. And then how do you connect the two? And you
Right.
that's why I'm saying you need like a special tech degree just to do that. So
Yeah.
what we've done, we've seamlessly integrated all this entire flow into one platform, and And I think that will be the key for success in hybrid events going forward.
I agree with that, Sergio. I think that we've been involved in many events, and the registration provider is one company, the badge provider is another company. There's a management company overlooking these, and I know that happens today at live events, especially, and now we're just compounding everything when we're adding that virtual layer on top. So if there can be that all-in-one solution that would be affordable, for people to, they might not need everything, this monolithic package, but they might need to kind of build on those pieces. So I do agree that would be the key. You mentioned that the market for virtual event platforms is very, very crowded, right? And I do agree. As I mentioned here, it
Yeah.
feels like there's a new one popping up every day. What would your advice be to an organizer, right? If an organizer has an event, 6 months out, and they're beginning their search, hitting up Google, do they just type in virtual event provider, or do you feel like you could sort of kind of put all these providers into certain categories, right? Is there any way to kind of differentiate the providers, or are they just, are we going to see 500 providers and they're all kind of the same, if that makes sense? So how do you begin to sort of separate them?
I think that at the moment, yes, that's what we're seeing. There's a lot of platforms. I'm pretty sure it's a really it's a big hassle for an event organizer to find the right platform. I would say that in the end, you have to rely maybe on good reviews of those platforms. You'll have to rely on the on making sure that the platforms offer you great support. You have to see that there's really engaged teams of people behind those businesses that can really help you get through all the steps that you know you need to take in order to have a successful event. I don't think it's easy for event organizers to do that, especially to be able to estimate the cost as well before you choose a provider, because a lot of the platforms are not even transparent in terms of pricing. You have to request a demo and then meet the team, and then you waste a lot of time, and then you have to go to another platform and so on. So it might take you like 3 months just to get your head around some platforms.
And I want to add
Um,
to that. I remember looking at one platform. I won't name it specifically, but there's like 4 or 5 different versions, and you can add like 15 different modules. And I can imagine if I'm an organizer, I'm just blowing my mind. That would be crazy trying to figure that out. You have to talk to somebody, which I get, but it's just complicated, right?
yeah, it's complicated, and what we've done, we've tried to make it really easy. On our platform, you can just get started for free for up to 100
Nice.
attendees, and then you decide if you want to switch to a larger plan, and then maybe in time you'll need different other features which you'll be able to add on top. But I think giving the organizers the possibility to really test your product, make sure it's working, uh, test it for free for some time, give them support, be transparent with them. I think that's at least for us, those are some values that we keep very close, and then I think that will build more value into our product going forward.
So just to add one more question here, because we'll work on wrapping up, Sergio. But what would your advice be to an organizer when they're putting together a hybrid event? Again, staying on that concept of hybrid, Let's say they're organizing live, they're pulling in a virtual platform, based on what you've learned, give us the top, 1 or 2 tips that you would send to an organizer. Hey, keep this in mind when they're putting together their hybrid event.
I think that they need to find, first of all, a solution that really makes it easy for them to just manage everything. So as I said before, you need something that has a lot of the tools that you need. They already have them integrated. If you're going to use too many suppliers, I think that will be a problem, because there's too many variables in place, and there's there's too many failure points in your event. And then I would say that the next thing, in order to make the event successful, you need to make sure that you don't forget that you also have the online attendees. Somehow you need to make sure that you bridge the experience between the live event and the online attendees, and that everybody really has a good experience from attending your event. Because if you're too excited about, yeah, we're back in person, forget about those guys. They're just watching TV.
Yeah.
I don't think you'll have a good experience.
So it's a great summary. I mean, if I had to kind of put all that into a short description, it's, an organizer has to choose one system that will help them, right? And then they need to make those attendees feel like it's one event, right? One system, one event across the board. So consolidation, keeping it simple, looking for that one provider that can make everything feel end to end, both for remote people and live attendees. So Sergio, look, thanks so much for attending our very first podcast. It's been a pleasure having you. Of course, you're running EventMix. If our listeners and our viewers would like more information on EventMix, where do they need to go? Where would you send them?
They should go to EventMix.live. It's our website. They can try the product for free. Our support team is always there if they need any help from us, any support. We're building and updating a lot of features all the time. I'm on LinkedIn as well. Happy to connect with anyone. It was really exciting to be on your first episode, guys. I hope you have a great success with your podcast. I think you're really on the right track. So I'm honored to be the first guest on your show.
Well, thanks,
So
Sergio.
thank you so much.
Yeah, likewise. And we'll be in touch. Just do me a favor with EventMix. Don't exit too soon like you've done before, right?
Well, after you exit, there's no more regrets.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Congratulations on what you built
Thank
so
you
far.
so much.
Yeah, man.
Thank
Thank
you so
you
much,
so
guys.
much. Appreciate you. Take care. Hey,
All right.
if you if you're in our audience, we're grateful that you joined us today. We want you to remember, don't forget to tune in to Event Squadcast every month on the third Friday. And you can catch us online at Captello/Event Squadcast, or follow us on LinkedIn at Captello. So with that said, yes, check out our website for chances to win gift cards and prizes. We have the Event Squadcast Game of the Month on that webpage. So check that out. Ryan?
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next time. Take care.